Do you want to know how you can get a temporary resident visa to Canada? First of all, many people can visit Canada without the need to a visit visa. That could be because of their nationalities, because of the documents they hold, or because of their purpose of visit to Canada. But if any of those do not apply to you, then you need to apply for something called a temporary resident visa. With the help of a temporary resident visa, you can travel to Canada, and at the port of entry, a border services officer will decide to allow you for how long you can stay in Canada, which is normally a period of maximum 6 months. But when you apply for a temporary resident visa, you need to convince an immigration officer that it is safe to issue you a temporary resident visa. The officer basically looks at 4 different elements. Number 1 is the purpose of visit. Why you are visiting Canada. You need to have a valid reason. For example, an invitation from a family member, or maybe an invitation from a corporation or business, or maybe attending a seminar, or a tourist visa. You are just touring the country, but you have already provided them with a plan for your visit to Canada. That's number 1. Number 2, you have enough money to cover your expenses while you are in Canada. As I mentioned, the duration of stay in Canada usually is around 6 months. So what you need to do to show the immigration officer that you have enough money in your bank accounts to cover your expenses for a period of 6 months. The best gauge for this is called LICO, or low income cutoff, for a period of 6 months. I have an article about LICO, you may read that, and I have the LICO tables that will explain to you how much you need. But for example, at the time of recording this video, for a single person who wants to visit Canada, LICO is almost 13,000 Canadian dollars. So you need to show that you have the equivalent of at least $13,000 in your bank accounts. Now, of course, if you have a host in Canada, that host could also cover your expenses. So it could be a combination of your financials, your host financials, your income, your host income that convinces the officer there are no financial problems. The third reason for the officer to approve or refuse an application for a temporary resident visa is that do you have enough ties to your home country or the place that you live right now to go back by the end of your visit. This could be proven to the officer by showing that you have emotional ties to your home country, you have financial ties to your home country, or you have a great travel history. Emotional ties, for example, close family members who live in your home country, especially your spouse or your children. Financial ties could be that you have a job, that you cannot just stay away from it for a very long time, or you have a business, or you have homes that you have rented them out and you need to go back home to collect the money. Anything that shows that you are willing to go back home. Of course, if you have properties, those kind of things could also help. And travel history also, if in the past 10 years, and especially in the past 5 years, you have traveled to many other countries, especially to the United States of America, to Australia, to New Zealand, or to the United Kingdom, or maybe Schengen area like Germany, Italy. If you show that you have traveled to those areas multiple times, that could also help to convince the officer your intention is not to stay in Canada illegally. And the last one, the officer needs to make sure that you are not inadmissible to Canada. Inadmissibility could be because of security reasons, because of criminality, because of organized criminality, because of medical issues, or because of other reasons, for example, misrepresentation. If you are inadmissible to Canada for any reason, you need to resolve that inadmissibility issue first, then think about applying for a visit visa to Canada, or sometimes we can apply for both of them at the same time. Regardless, keep that in mind. No matter how many documents you provide, how much evidence you present to the immigration officer, what kind of cover letter you have, whether you have representation or not, it doesn't guarantee a visa. At the end of the day, the process of issuance of visa is at the hands of an immigration officer. It's a discretionary process, and the officer's point of view could affect the decision. There are a few steps, as I mentioned, that you could take to help with receiving a positive answer, but there is no guarantee. I hope you manage to receive your visit visa to Canada, and someday we'll visit each other here in our beautiful country.